everybody, and welcome to another episode of Horror Movie Night. This week, I feel like just a couple days after we even pitched the idea into Kyle's brain, we are talking about Broken Lizards, Club Dread, or just Club Dread, depending. I'm really curious everyone's thoughts on this, because I've only seen this movie once prior to this viewing.
Yeah, this is my second watch as well.
This is probably my 10th or 11th watch of all time. This was a common movie in high school for me. Because to me, Super Troopers is the movie, Broken Lizards movie for everybody, right? So everybody knows that, and that's their entry point, and that's the most quotable one. It's like all of this stuff, like Super Troopers has this kind of like cultural hold. Yeah. But for me as a horror fan who also is like of the age of Super Troopers being that, I was like, but Club Dread's the horror one. And I mean, watching it now through adult eyes, I mean, it's been, I don't know how long it's been. I probably didn't even watch this when Bill Paxton passed, to be honest, which is kind of crazy because it's maybe my favorite Bill Paxton role. But this was just such a frequent movie in my house. And I watched the unrated version for this because I have it on DVD, which you don't ever necessarily need to do.
Even the director tells you not to watch the unrated version.
I don't have the rated version on the DVD.
Are there
and
more
I didn't
boobs?
Yeah, there's more boobs.
And there's two cop characters that don't exist in the movie.
Holy shit.
Yeah, there's two mainland police officers who come and interrogate the staff and then get blown up. No real reason.
But this is something that I found very interesting is according to the Wikipedia page, if you listen to the Club Dread commentary track, so there was an R-rated release and there was an unrated release. If you listen to the commentary track, the director of the movie actively says the R-rated version is in his mind the director's cut, which I feel like is a subtle way of him implying that the movie didn't do well and the studio wanted to try to beef it up by putting any deleted scenes they could into it and slapping unrated on the box.
Which is just crazy to me. Yeah. That feels like such not the to me that's never the way that it was.
Yeah.
Not the movie, but just why there's an unrated
Movies
version
general,
to me means that there's a director's cut.
Yeah.
But or that's the director's cut.
Yeah,
but
I think in his mind it was just no, this
Yeah.
was just I think it was his way of basically saying the extra scenes are scenes I cut for a reason.
Yeah. For a reason. Yeah, right.
Right.
And I feel that. I feel that actually in the unrated version as I went back and I was like, 15 extra minutes.
Yeah, I was going to say, this movie did not need to be 2 hours long.
Yeah, it was already a slog at an hour 40, so I was, I'm glad I didn't watch the unrated version.
I'm going to read a quote. Very rarely do I agree with Roger Ebert, but I actually really like what Roger Ebert had to say about
you
this.
agree with Roger Ebert a lot, just not with the stuff that we talk about.
Yeah, he doesn't like horror movies very much.
Yeah.
Critic Roger Ebert gave the film a 2.5 out of 5-star rating and wrote, "Whether it works or not is a little hard to say. Much like Super Troopers, the previous film by the Broken Lizard comedy troupe, it has lovable performances and very big laughs, but then a lot of downtime while everybody, the cast and audience included, waits for what will happen next."
Yeah.
And I feel like that is the problem with this movie is there are points that work and they work really well, and then there's the rest.
Can you elaborate on the parts that you thought worked really well? Because I didn't hate any of this, but I didn't really enjoy any of it either. I mean, and this is exactly what my thought process was when I watched it the first time. The only difference between my first watch and this watch was
missing Bill Paxton.
Knowing what missing Bill Paxton. Yes. Yes, absolutely. But no, actually, the watching it and understanding more of the jokes that they were going for did not really fix the fact that I didn't enjoy the movie. I didn't hate it. Definitely not the worst thing that Kyle's picked in the last 6 months. But
that's good. Well, I'm still around, baby.
But yeah, I just felt like so much of it was just kind of trying to make a joke and not a horror joke, and it's we always make that comment about how horror is comedy and horror share timing, and I was just how is it that these guys could sandwich such a shit movie between such great movies because they did Super Troopers this and then Beer Fest. And I'm like, how?
The other thing,
because the timing of those other two ones is fucking, the comedic timing is there.
But here's the thing. I've landed on this with Broken Lizard for a while, is like, I think that Beer Fest and Super Troopers are the exception to the rule with their content, not the bar. And it's because, like, watching this, it really established what I've always thought about them, which is like, I don't hate anything about Broken Lizard, but it is such a like frat guy sense of humor that is like just never hit for me the way that like it hits for other people. One of the notes that I was shocked that I wrote down, and I'm not going to give my examples because they both work as my double features as well.
But I figured you would.
But I think I would rather like this if it was just if they played it more straight as a horror, because I think the comedy kind of gets in the way of what would have worked if they just told the story that they were trying to tell, knowing that it was absurd, knowing that it was ridiculous, and actually eliminate the jokes and just let the scenario be the comedy. I think it would have worked so much better, because then you get this stuff where it's like, you know, there's like the occasional line that I chuckle at. You know what I mean? Like the very beginning scene where it's like, wait, my nipples. Like when she gets distracted.
I did write that line down too. I think
like,
that first scene is like the best scene of the movie, because the humor.
It's also the most well shot, because I love the like usage of the camera for the POV of her head being decapitated. Like there's like
very very
cool
odd that
there.
shows up there. You know, like it's just what a strange.
No, because the rest of it is like when I was looking for like a background for the video on the Patreon, I was like, this is a pretty unremarkably shot. Like there's nothing that like stands out. As a very, like, everything was just like groups of people all in the same shot, and I was like, oh, okay, there's nothing. It isn't. I mean, the first scene's very fun, and you're right. I mean, like this, having gone back to it after so many years, there's not. It still is like it's a weaker film. It's not as funny. And actually, Evan, who I frequently talk about here, had a good point. He was like, I don't know how to classify Broken Lizard. Like, are they stoner comedy? Not really. Are they frat comedy? Like, you know, like Matt's saying, like, I don't really know. And I was like, just general like, is it just general comedy? Like, it's not so blue that it's, you know, obscene, but it's also not. It's really odd. And also, I didn't know that they did a retelling of The Hunchback of Notre Dame until like 10 minutes before this recording.
Quasi,
yeah.
Oh, it's because it just came out, and I'm not stoked to watch it.
No, but we'll have to.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely gonna have to happen for a Patreon episode.
Look, I sat through Super Troopers 2, and I'm pretty content with knowing that like I am pretty much tapped out on their humor. But like, here's the thing that's crazy to me is like the main guy. I feel like the guy who's kind of like the brainchild of a lot of it, Jay, or at least he's the one that sits in the director's chair most. Like, he has an incredible TV directing resume. You know what I mean? Like the shows that he has directed for television, I think are good. And I think the episodes he did are good. He did Undeclared, he did Arrested Development, he did episodes of Human Giant, he did Psych, he did Chuck, he did a bunch of episodes of Community and Happy Endings, a bunch of Goldbergs and New Girl episodes. Like, I feel like he's one of those people, and we see this really often. I literally heard a radio DJ say this one time. Sometimes working within a constraint of this has to be like PG general audience quality, like actually helps rein in some people. And it makes them be more creative on how to get their joke in a creative way. And the example that I always think of with this radio DJ was, he said, like, I was told these are the words you're not allowed to say on the radio, and he was like, anybody knows what they are. There's words that you can't say. He goes, but then when you try to find substitute words, you can actually find words that feel so much worse than if you just said the words that you weren't allowed to say. And I feel like Jay works better in those constraints than when he's doing a feature film where he can do and say whatever he wants, and he can really swing for the fences. And like stuff like The Baby Makers was really bad, and like the Dukes of Hazzard movie was all right enough, but like I think that he strikes out more in feature films than he does when he's doing television, because he has to fit within a showrunner's rules and like what the parameters are that someone else set up, versus when he has no guides to keep him reined in. I think that's Broken Lizard's problem in general, because if I see any of these guys on their own in a movie, I'm like, they're great. They're so funny. They're so charming, but I feel like they work better in other people's worlds than their own 90% of the time.
Yeah, and so it's a whodunit slasher movie, which is not bad, because we had a lot of those in the 80s. And so I get the pastiche. I get it. But also the two characters that have accents, they're so laughably bad that I was waiting for. I mean, both times I've watched it, I completely forgot who the killer was after my first watch, and so I'm watching it this time, and I'm like, does one of them like drop the accent and they're the killer? Because it would make a lot of sense if they did, and they don't.
Yeah.
No.
And
but
I'll give them
too. I forgot who it was too, and I've watched it however many times.
I'll give them this though. I feel like, because I was going back and forth about a lot of that, where I'm like, all right, we've got a white dude playing Juan, like we've got all this stuff, but I'm like, you know what?
A Jewish white man. But makes
still,
it okay, I guess. I don't know.
I was going to say,
better.
I feel like if their joke is like, this is what the casting was like in the 80s, then it's like fine. But I almost feel like you should have a character acknowledge
obvious.
that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's not. And here's the thing: is Broken Lizard doesn't do subtle.
No,
they don't do subtext. Literally, their jokes are point blank. They're shotgun blasts to your psyche.
That's what
makes them funny.
That's what
they are funny.
The reveal,
when they're funny.
Yeah, that's why the reveal of the identical twin brother in Beer Fest is so brilliant. Is because the dialogue is so like, and he's told me everything about you, so we don't even have to do any introductions.
You can
or
just
like
call me by the same name. Yeah,
it's like that's so. They're playing up the absurdity of that type of motif, and like you said, without any subtlety. Like they are addressing the trope head on. And this one, it's like, I don't know. I understand why so many people were disappointed by this movie, but I also understand what you mean, Scott, where it's like, I didn't hate anything about watching this, and I can absolutely get how Kyle has watched it 10 times, because it's a movie that it's like, man, if I just needed to throw something on while doing other stuff, like, it actually has enough of a just mellow-ass vibe to me that, like, I could just throw this on and go like start working on dinner. Like it's just
that
like
was oftentimes what it was for us though.
Yeah.
Like it was like, you know,
it's friends hanging out in the basement background noise movie. Like it's like you don't have to.
But then if you look at the screen, there may be
a good chance there's boobs.
There might be boobs or a decapitated head or something. Yeah, like it's it fits that.
There was
vibe.
a lot of decapitations in this, which is obviously my thing. I had a really good time since I was unhappy with the screenshots that I had originally gotten for our social for this movie. So I went back after finishing it and rewound to the scene where the DJ's head is on the turntable.
Yeah.
And I was like, I gotta use that. So, I mean,
perfect.
It's just... and also, that's something that I didn't really recognize the first time I watched it, is that so many kills, because a lot of people, I think there are like 10 murders in this movie.
There's a high body count.
There are a lot.
Sure.
There are a lot of murders in this. But the vast majority of them are just kind of goofy, like Errol Flynn type things, where someone gets stabbed in the stomach with a machete and they go, oh, and they're dead. But then you have like some really hyper gory things, and
the
like
last,
the killer.
10 minutes of this movie works for me in a big way. Actually.
Yeah, well,
like,
and
because it's so
I agree
absurd.
with you. We
it
have
leans
to,
into
yes.
the absurdity where it needed to.
That's where it works. So, and here's the thing: is that when the killer is giving his denouement and his reason for killing people, they should have kept it at the. He said he had grass for me. He said he didn't have grass. And then I went into the woods and he had grass. That was my grass. And then because like at the beginning when the masseur is walking up the dock, you see all of the scenes of people being shitty to other people that work there. So really the best way to have done it would have been to have it be like, so-and-so was mean to me this way, so they had to die. So-and-so was mean to me this way, they had to die.
The ownership of the land
island,
is stupid. And so here's the other complicated thing.
I don't understand why they did that, though. It seems like they were
the
close to
obvious
grasping
choice is right there.
Yeah. And they did it. They just didn't stick with it. It's so strange. It was like a really weird movie when you watch it as an adult who deconstructs horror movies weekly.
Yes.
You know, it's like...
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's why I didn't remember the fucking killer either.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter because, like, the poignancy is not there.
And, you know, also, did I miss a part where, so, you know, the guys who are talking about how they want to, you know, like, bang each girl as the...
Nat Faxon?
Yeah, Nat Faxon's little cameo.
Academy Award winner. Nat
Yes.
That's right. He has won like a shit ton of Academy Awards now.
Screenwriting.
But my question is, did I miss a part where they kept on alluding to them actually being gay for each other, and that's why they were doing that toxic masculinity thing, and then there was no payoff? I mean, was there a payoff where they?
No,
that's
there wasn't
so
a payoff.
weird, right? Like I mean, and I'm not saying that wouldn't have been an insensitive joke. I feel like it could have been done well, even for a Broken Lizard thing, where they could have been like, you know, I've just been saying those things, all these terrible things about women because I'm into you, you know, and then they kiss. Like, they could still make it absurd. Because those are absurd
the closest
characters.
thing we got was them jerking off each other in the air to each other.
It's like all these jokes are right fucking there, but it's like they never finish any of the jokes.
No, it's can I tell you guys? I don't know why this just clicked into my brain. This has absolutely nothing to do with Club Dread, but I've been wanting to share it with somebody forever because I feel like I'm the only person who's currently watching this like revival of Beavis and Butthead.
I only watched a couple of episodes of the first season.
Listen,
or the new season.
This new run of Beavis and Butthead has given me what might be, in my mind, the golden standard of the greatest fake out joke I've ever witnessed on television, which is there's an episode where they're in a sewer and they think they're in hell and all of the lights cut out and Butthead says something along the lines of like, hey, some demon chick is grabbing my leg. He goes, hey, I'm touching some demon chick's leg. And Beavis is like, that's crazy because some demon chick is grabbing my leg. He's like, and now I'm squeezing this demon chick's butt. And he's like, that's insane because this demon chick's squeezing my butt. And it's like this building. Then they turn on the lights and they're just touching themselves. it's like the brilliance of the fake out where we all know the setup of like the two guys in the dark, like misunderstood, like for the fact that they're so dumb they're touching themselves kills me.
That's perfect.
But again, I'm like, I see what you're saying too, where it's like, dude, just go to the giant punchline, like absolutely go to the final punchline. I feel like they did a better job of the same level of toxic masculinity with Sam Levine's character because they kept it short and sweet.
Oh my God, yeah.
Stress on the word short. And then, like, secondly, he gets the best line. He gets the best line in the whole movie when he's in the pool and he goes, what the fuck? Something just brushed up against my leg. Oh, yeah, it's my gigantic cock.
Okay, see, that's a good joke.
That's what I mean.
It's way better than the demon chick grabbing my butt. Oh, my God, I'm grabbing a demon chick's butt. Like, that joke pales in comparison.
But we need to take a break because I need to know if Kyle is having a Margaritaville or a Pina Colada Berg as his drink with this.
I did and was thinking about a Pina Colada Berg, but then I was like, that sounds horrible. And then I was thinking, well, a margarita with ecstasy could be fun. But I just opted for Fisher's Island Nude Peach. Nude beach, nude peach. I hope you guys get the joke.
I get the joke. That's a pun. I like
Hey,
puns.
Broken Lizard, is that you? And I just have some limeade with some Captain Morgan because I was like, Captain Morgan is as close as I'm going to get to Coconut Pete. Also, the fucking music in this is great.
It's
There are like
good.
6 songs.
So not only is it so great, there's 2 things I have to say about the music. Thing number 1 is that according to the commentary track, the filmmakers did screen the movie for Jimmy Buffett to make sure that he was okay with the jokes. And not only did Jimmy Buffett like it, he requested permission to sing some of the songs from the film at his future live shows. And I feel like if this movie had been more successful, that probably would have happened.
Man, that would have been so fucking
because
funny.
they're nailing it. Like, as a dude who's like, I am never going to sit there and be like, I'm a parrot head, but like, I enjoy a fair amount of Jimmy Buffett songs. They're absolutely nailing it. They're nailing the tone. They're nailing the vibe. That being said,
I mean, that's Bill Paxton right there.
And
Bill
Paxton's
Paxton's
deep
crushing
cuts
it
too, like the deep cuts of like.
when he goes,
Buffett,
that son of a bitch.
motherfucker. He doubles up both. It's great. He is so fucking good in this.
He's so good in this movie, but at the same time, I feel like, again, to go back to what I was saying, where I'm like, I wish that they played it more straight. Is like, I don't need this to be such an on-the-nose Jimmy Buffett parody simultaneously. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need him freaking out that he wrote Pina Colada Berg 7 years before Jimmy Buffett. Like, it's like
that
those
was
are
long 5 minutes.
It feels like 2004. Like that just feels like 2004. Where that is
2004 humor.
And I'm like, you don't need to anymore. We're smart people.
So the only other time that I watched this was actually, as we were talking about, in a friend's basement. I used to hang out at my friend Ed's basement in college, and usually he would be playing World of Warcraft on his computer, and I would just like grab a DVD from his collection and pop it in and watch it. Yeah. So we were watching Club Dread, and we would go to Quizzo every Wednesday night, and the Quizzo offered a free round of drinks to anybody who had the best team name. None of us drank, but we always wanted to win best team name anyway. And this movie is what gave us our first ever win for best team name, and it was from something that I just caught out of the corner of my eye, which is when they pull out a Coconut Pete record. One of the tracks is called "I Could Tell You, but then I'd have tequila." And I said, that's going to be our Quizzo name tonight.
Brilliant. All the song names and album names on this were great. I did not clock that one, and that's fantastic. That one's so good. I do have to say there is one joke that I always repeat, and to this day, and now I have a goddaughter named Penelope.
Penelope.
I will never not call her Penelope.
Did you read the story of that?
No.
Like, so they were at Super Troopers played somewhere, like some film festival. And Broken Lizard was obviously at the film festival, and Jay and Kevin were seeing a screening of a movie that was featuring Penelope Cruz. And they said the guy behind them was like, Penelope? Who would name their kid Penelope? And they're like, oh, that's going in the next one. like
so
they
good.
immediately just clocked that as a joke for the next Broken Lizard movie.
Dude, I say whenever I see Penelope anywhere, it's always Penelope to me, and I could not believe when they named their daughter Penelope. And I mean we call her Poppy all the time, but to me she's Penelope.
You were like, have you met me, guys? You know what I'm going to call this girl?
Yeah, you should have vetted me to be.
Put down that smartphone and listen to me. I'm Matthew Milligan, professional musician and lifelong Weird Al fan. Each week, I'm joined by professional podcaster and close personal friend Matt Kelly to take a dive off the deep end into the vast career of pop culture icon Weird Al Yankovic on our show, Weird Algorithm. Along with some very special guests from the worlds of music and comedy, we tackle every song, every television appearance, and every bit of sketch comedy Al has produced in chronological order, covering the good old days of My Bologna and Eat It, the fun zone of tacky and white and nerdy, and everything in between. As we go, we're ranking the songs, albums, and music videos in the hopes of creating the ultimate guide to a career bigger than the biggest ball of twine in Minnesota. So the next time you're having one of those days, stuck in a traffic jam, wondering why does this always happen to me, just kick off your sneakers and stick around for a while because we've got it all on Weird Algorithm. Available wherever you get your podcasts. And now you know. Was that enough references?
All right, well, Kyle, what was your double feature with Broken Lizard's Club Dread?
So it can't be I Still Know What You Did Last Summer.
Yeah, it can.
Because
Yeah, it
I
absolutely
actually
can. But
I went to log on to do this StreamYard, and my background was still Jack Black and dreads. So I was like, maybe I just keep that. It's not tropical, but it is camp. I'm gonna go with Sleepaway Camp. I think that besides the Machete Phil joke being so blatant to me, I just think that it's a little more mean-spirited, but also fun and a lot more, and just as high body count almost. Like, it's pretty close, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, there are a lot of murders in that movie too.
Yeah,
I just think that I could. Yeah.
Sleepaway Camp 1 is maybe 6 or 7. Sleepaway Camp 2, I think, is literally 20-something people
Yeah,
in a shorter
I was bouncing back and forth between the two.
There
but
are
I
a lot
think
of kids that get murdered in their sleeping bags.
That's
right
true.
before
I forget
the
about
final
that.
scene. I think that we get into the double digits in the original Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah. All right,
I don't
Scott, how
want to
about
be
you?
that kind of person, but I'm going to go with another camp movie because I don't really think that there are a whole lot of tropical horror movies that I could get behind. I mean, it just doesn't seem
I almost
like
picked Turistas, but it sounded I don't want to watch that ever.
No,
it's a
and
bad
I mean, the
movie.
first
I hope
movie
I
that
didn't
comes
pick
to
yours,
mind is,
Scott.
for me, is The Ruins, but I hate that movie.
Yeah.
And I would never force anyone to watch that movie. I've watched
we'll
it
have to talk
twice
about
now.
that later.
Oh God, please no.
We
But
already
I'm
did
gonna
it for
go.
the show. We're good.
Yeah, we did it for this show, and we did it as Red Horror Club. It was
Oh, okay. I'll go back
painful.
and listen to that.
No, don't. Anyway, I'm gonna go with Cheerleader Camp because it is also incredibly over the top. But I feel like some of the jokes, maybe a higher percentage of the jokes hit.
Yeah.
You know?
Here's what I'm going to say, and I hinted at this. There were 2 movies that I wrote down as my double features. And I wrote it down because I said, and I'll repeat this, I think the horror works better than the comedy, and I wish they did this more like either one of these films, The Final Girls or You Might Be the Killer. If it was more in that tone where it's it's still a comedy, it's still acknowledging the tropes of horror, but it's playing both of them straight. I think that I feel
I would much prefer to get down with you start with Club Dread and then you watch You Might Be the Killer because I think that You Might Be the Killer has more rewatchability.
For sure.
Just because
1,000%.
of the pacing is so goddamn good. I like The Final Girls a lot, but I'm also still salty. There's a tropical joke for you. But I'm still upset about the fact that we didn't get another one.
Yeah.
Because they set it up.
They did. I mean, there's still time. It was only
10 years.
It was only 8 years
years.
ago. Yeah, so all right. Kyle, what have you been watching, reading, etc. that you want to talk about?
I got to take this space real quick to promote that The Woodsman is dropping online July 11th, July 10th, July 11th.
Christmas in July.
Christmas in July, baby. We're
smart.
we are officially
Big brain
being we're officially being released by Dark Matters on YouTube. It's a UK-based horror short film company. It started as a production company, and then they've teamed up with other filmmakers to put out shorts maybe twice a month, once or twice a month. But as of this, and I hope that everything goes off without a hitch. If not, Matt, you'll have to edit this out. But we're gonna be out there. You can finally see The Woodsman, which I'm very, very excited about. So thanks to Carl and the team at Dark Matters. It'll be out there Christmas in July. Other than that, in case you have to cut that, I finally watched the Out There Halloween mega tape.
Yeah, you did.
From our friends, the La Martinez. Scott, when your fucking riffs hit and the first segment, I was just like, oh man, awesome. This is that's exactly what. here's how I'll describe the viewing of it. And I texted Matt about this, and I also put it on my Letterboxd review. Carly and I were watching it, and it is so effective that when Ivy Sparks, our talk show host, cuts to commercial, Carly and I both got up from our couch to go get a snack from the kitchen. 2.5, 3 minutes. Ivy Sparks comes back on. We realize that we have to rewind because they are not real commercials. They are commercials directed for this part of the movie. Like we were like, oh, it happened twice. It didn't happen for like the second time. It was like Carly and I both went to our phone to like look at something. Like, and we were like, oh my God, like that's not how this works. It's masterfully done. I'm telling everybody about it. The same way that we've been doing, but it just the ripple effect.
He just captures that look and feel of 1990s late night television in like the most beautiful way. Like
it's fantastic, and it feels exactly like it feels, and it goes from afternoon into evening. So it also like that first part of it with the talk show does feel like you had a half day at school and you're home.
Yeah, you're watching Sally, Jesse, Raphael, or the Ricky Lake Show, or any of those.
Like even like into the exactly. And then watch. It's so well done. I'm very, very impressed.
He has 2 hidden commentary tracks in there too.
Oh, is that right? Good.
You can't access it through any special features. You just have to hit play and then change the audio tracks with your remote.
Great.
But it's like,
oh, fantastic.
one of them is genuinely him doing a director's commentary track, and then the other one is the actor playing Tony in character explaining the history of how he found the VHS tape. Jesus Christ.
It's awesome. I'm enjoying so much of it, and to have people that I know involved, and like it makes me so happy. It's so great.
Yeah, no, it's top notch. All right, Scott, what have you watched that you want to talk about?
I haven't finished anything that I can talk about with any degree of satisfaction, aside from Quantum Mania, which it's been out on D+ for a little bit at the point of this being out on our feed. I liked it. It was very much a exist within for 2 hours kind of movie. The best part literally was MODOK's butt cheeks.
Yeah,
his little butt cheeks.
I would say that is a movie that is both not a great movie but still very underrated, because people were like, this is the biggest piece of trash.
Oh, they're ripping it apart.
That's what I mean. I'm like, this isn't a good movie, but I sat through the Eternals, bro. Like,
yeah, like I will go back to Quantum Mania before the Eternals. The Eternals is literally the only Marvel movie that I haven't watched more than once. And I've even watched Iron Man 3 twice at this point. And that's saying a lot because I fucking hate Iron Man 3. But, man, it's a just fine movie. I think that it isn't an Ant-Man movie.
No, it honestly feels like a Fantastic Four movie that they just tossed Ant-Man into.
Yeah, it's way too... I mean, I get it. It's very colorful. I think that they're trying to kind of siphon off some of the attraction that people have to the Guardians movies with the color scheme. What I felt was missing was that the heist, because really the other two have been heist movies, and if Kang had been like, this is a heist, I would have been like, okay, it fits the mold. I mean, I don't know if we're going to get another Ant-Man movie, and I mean, I'm ambivalent. I love Ant-Man as a character. I love Paul Rudd. I love his resurgence, his revival as a star, like an actual star. I mean, because he's been working since the fucking 90s, but consistently. But I feel like, being in Marvel was a huge revitalization of his image, and he's always been a good dude. But I just wish that we would have gotten a little bit more of the same feel that the first two had. But specifically, I really love the heist concept of the original Ant-Man movie. But I mean, there's nothing offensive about it. It's not a bad movie. It just is there.
No, and I mean, I want to clarify this, because the episode where I saw Quantum Mania came out the same week as some allegations dropped on one of the stars.
Oh yeah, and you do need to edit that out, that back now, don't you?
I'm gonna reel one element back. Fuck Jonathan Majors. Anybody can play Kang, but he undeniably does a great job in that movie, even though he's a piece of shit.
I don't like Kang anyway. I mean, I know it's hard to follow Thanos as the big bad. I also just don't give a fuck about big bads in the MCU because these cataclysmic villains and shit, like, they don't do anything for me.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Guardians 3, but I know enough people who have, and High Evolutionary is way more my speed as far as an MCU villain goes.
That's where I was going to go, because that's going to be my what did I watch the least spoilery way. But like all of the positive things that you're hearing about Guardians 3, 1,000%. Like this legitimately, I'm not going to say it's my favorite James Gunn movie, but it is undeniably the best James Gunn movie.
Wait, ever?
I mean, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I would put this above Slither. I'd put it above Super. I'd put it above the other Guardians of the Galaxy movies. I would even put it above Tromeo and Juliet.
Is there a dick monster in it? Because then I can accept this.
I mean, no, but it does contain the first use of fuck in any MCU movie, which is like only James Gunn could get away with. But it is. I also still can say that I don't think it needed to be 2 hours and 20 minutes long, but I don't think that any of that time was wasted, but it's so good. It puts you through so many emotions. You're laughing. I wouldn't say you cry, but there's definitely moments that hit you.
Well, you cry.
No, I didn't even cry. So that's what I'm saying.
Okay, so that means I'm safe. I'm so safe, guys.
I'm like the easy faucet of tears. Oh, I don't know, Scott, because you get emotional about animals, and this is all about Rocket's origin story.
I don't want to. I saw the one part where they show his
it might
animal
hit
friends.
you
like,
harder than it hit me. Yeah. But it's good. It's very good. It's beautifully done. It's lovely. Was missing a Lloyd Kaufman cameo, but otherwise I think it was great. And also, by the time this comes out, this will probably be done by now, but after 20 years of waiting, I finally got a season 2 of Clone High. Thanks to HBO Max. It's good. I'm going in understanding that I'm watching a second season to a show that I've watched the first season probably upwards to 30 times and have like memorized it. So like the fact that all of the voice actors are 20 years older, so they all sound different. The fact that they've done the thing that I'm totally in support of going like, oh, maybe a white woman shouldn't be voicing Cleopatra. Like, so there are characters who are voiced by different people. I don't love, my only complaint is that I feel like the woman who they cast to voice Cleopatra just never watched the first season, because like nothing about her character sounds even close to the original Cleopatra in the first season. But beyond that, like, little complaint, the jokes work. It juggles itself beautifully, being both a absurdist comedy from the guys who did like Spider-Verse and the Lego Movie, but still being like a spot-on satire of, whereas the first one was so much of a satire on like the Dawson's Creek, Beverly Hills 90210, like very special episode type teen dramas. This is definitely way more meta. So like the first episode is all about being canceled, but they're using canceled as the double entendre of both the show being canceled for 20 years and the idea of like saying things that were appropriate in 2003 when the show previously aired could get you canceled type double entendre. It's very smart and funny in that. And then the second episode is about being on the internet. And I think one of my favorite lines of a TV show, right up there with in Scream 5, where the "How can a fandom be toxic?" is a character going, "I feel like I'm at my most helpful when I'm posting anonymously on the internet." It's like, just gets it so good. It gets it so good on like what is actually happening in the world. So highly recommend if you were, I know that there's a lot of people in our Slack chat specifically that are big Clone High fans. Definitely watch it.
It's a weird Venn diagram, y'all.
It's a weird Venn diagram, people. But something that was from the same time as Clone High that I don't think held up as beautifully 20 years later, Club Dread, as picked by Kyle from 2004. We will be back next week with even more horror movie night goodness.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.